All right, we're really excited about today's episode because we're joined by a very special guest, Summar, who is the owner and creator of Golden Girl, which is a jewelry brand that focuses on both mental and physical health.
Summar used her experience with adversity to influence others who struggle with similar afflictions and raise money, funds, and awareness for various Canadian charities.
And her brand, Golden Girl, is really a living example that beauty can come from struggle. So Summar, welcome to It's Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And it's funny because at first I was like, we got to give a shout out to Carl because he introduced us to Summar. And then she walked in and I was like, wait, I know her. And then we realized we went to high school together. So guys, Ottawa is just that small.
It's literally the epitome of Ottawa.
Yep. But yeah, I feel like you're like our first guest though, where we haven't been like, I don't know, we've known a lot of our guests that we've had on. You're kind of one that we don't really know that well. Like I know we went to high school together, but it's been ages since high school.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So can you give us a little bit tell us about yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Summar. It's spelled kind of funny, but that's because I'm half Arabic. So it's the Arabic spelling.
Okay.
But you do pronounce it like the season. That's usually my go-to. Not a ton to go through. I mean, I went to university after high school. I went to Queen's, did my undergrad there. Yeah. I ended up going back to school at Algonquin and studied public relations, which kind of got me more into the marketing, social media side of things. From there, I worked at an SEO, so search engine optimization company.
Cool.
I've been a marketing manager. I'm currently a marketing manager at Algonquin College for the Students Association. So kind of been all over the map. But I think what always felt like it was missing was just doing something for myself where I felt that sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when Golden Girl started. So I will dive in a little bit more to that. But yeah.
That's so cool. I didn't even know that you were half Arabic. You say half Arabic?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Lebanese.
Oh, Ottawa. Wow. There you go.
Do you speak Arabic as well?
No.
It's funny, too, because when your name, I was like, oh, I wonder if it's pronounced Summar or like Summar. I wasn't too sure, but like the season. So you're a very, very busy gal. Like I was going to ask, like, is Golden Girl like your full-time gig? But it sounds like you got a lot going on.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I do Golden Girl basically outside of my 9 to 5, and then I bartend as well. That's how we know. Shout out to Carl because he wants 10% of any profits from this.
Shout out to Carl.
On 5, we'll see.
The grill master will say that about you as well, Carl. You're the grill master.
The grill master.
And then I do a lot of advocacy as well. So I'm the run director for Ottawa's Endometriosis run to End Endo. Wow. So yeah, just kind of keeping busy and doing what I can.
Oh my God, you have so much going on.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Golden Girl and like how you came up with the name and kind of what the concept behind it?
Yeah. So for me, Golden Girl was kind of a representation of the struggles I've been through and who I want to be throughout my life. Because I can't say we're always changing. We're constantly changing, evolving, growing as people. Yeah. So to me, Golden Girl was just a way to define someone that aspires to be the best version of themselves, who wants to help others, who doesn't give up on or doesn't give up when there's a challenge or something that they're facing. And something I've faced a lot, obviously, is some mental health conditions, some physical health conditions. So Golden Girl just represented kind of that pursuit of happiness, I think.
I love that. Wow, that's beautiful.
That's so inspiring.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I feel like everyone should aspire to be a Golden Girl if that's the definition, truly.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal, right? It's just like everybody stays golden. We're going to not have those perfect days. We're never going to be perfect. There's no such thing, but we can just try to be the best version of ourselves.
Wow.
Can you walk us through kind of like the beginning process, like when this idea of Golden Girl like actually started to like come to fruition, and like what was kind of the very initial like move that you made to be like, okay, I'm going to start this company, we're going to make some jewelry, like let's do it?
It's actually kind of funny because it happened right in the middle of the pandemic, which logically sounds like a terrible time to start a business because everybody,
everything's closing. Let's open something.
Let's just start a business. Logically, did it make the most sense? No, but I went for it anyways. But basically, I was working from home constantly, like most of us were during the pandemic for lockdown. And I wanted to do something that made me feel a little bit of happiness. So for me, Golden Girl started because I've always been a big jewelry addict. It's just kind of how I express myself. I'm pretty androgynous dresser. Like there's nothing.
Like, look at all your beautiful rings.
Crazy.
I was about to say,
your
like
stacks
she's
are
stacked
insane.
up. I love it. I want everything you're wearing.
Thank you. But I'm like pretty plain otherwise. Like I don't care that much about my clothing. So jewelry is kind of how I express myself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, let me just have a go at this. I grew up kind of antiquing and hunting for jewelry, and my cottage making bracelets and all that kind of stuff, like a lot of us did. So I just took it to the next level and did some metalwork. But yeah, Golden Girl basically just started in the middle of a pandemic. I said, let's do this. I have some background in web design and marketing, so the website side of things was okay.
Yeah, your website's gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you.
It's stunning.
Still a work in progress, but thank you. Yeah, so it was just kind of, let's just do something that's going to make us happy. I have a lot of spare time because we can't go anywhere.
Yep.
Can't really see anyone, so connected through people online and kind of grew a community that way.
I love that. I feel like a lot of us, that happened to a lot of us during the pandemic, where we were slowed down so much that it kind of like we took a step back and we're like, what actually makes us happy, and like what's our purpose, because the world was just going to shit, and we're like, wait, like, do we actually like our job? Like, is this what we want to be doing? And so do you find now with this like entrepreneurship, like you're finding your purpose through this kind of work?
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't have a set goal. Like, I didn't start it saying, okay, I want to do XYZ or whatever it was. But to me, it was okay if I share my story with my struggles and I connect with one person, like that's something for me.
Yeah.
So it kind of started that way. It was just, let's see if I can do anything. And the way to make money, or raise money, was to be able to sell a product. So that's kind of how I did it. So I donated with every sale to the Endometriosis Network of Canada.
Wow.
So my first year I donated over $2,000, which I think was really awesome.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so it kind of just grew from there. And then I wanted to branch out, and I had a lot of people messaging me about their struggles, and I connected with people in the community for women's health and mental health. And it just kind of kept growing. And to me, that was the purpose, I think. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think as people, we're always going to change what we're passionate about and what we want to do. But that underlying core of, I want to help people, I want to connect with people. And if I can ease someone's pain by telling them what I've been through and that they're not alone, that's it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not always about like money. And even us, like when we started this podcast, people are like, where do you see this podcast going? Like, sometimes I'm like, you know what? It could just be a hobby. It doesn't, we don't need to make money off of it. And like, it's bringing us happiness, just meeting people like you
therapy.
and just like talking and having a conversation. Like, when else do you have time to just like sit down with someone that you don't know and just be like, hey, tell me about your life and like learn about them. So I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's also really special too. Like, obviously I was like on your website and I was looking around and like reading about your story and everything, and to be able to like support a business that like makes part of their sales like donation to like a local charity or whatever one you're deciding on, like that versus going to another like jewelry spot and be like, oh, like it's like a no-brainer. I'm obviously going to buy pieces from you, because to be able to support something like that, it just felt like, wow,
local and like
be able to help out. I feel like that's so great. You mentioned you started in COVID, and obviously there was probably a lot of challenges even just starting during the pandemic, but can you talk about maybe some other challenges or even during the pandemic that you faced when you were trying to establish and grow Golden Girl?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, running a business is not easy.
It's like Google, like how to
how to start a business.
How to start a podcast, how to start a business.
It's not easy. It's a lot of trial and error, and I think that it still is. Like, even I'm approaching 5 years now, and it's still trial and error, and it always will be. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. But I think for me, the biggest struggle, I think, was just finding out what people want and how to cater to them. Versus what I want to do and what I want to achieve, and kind of the balance in that, because it's a little trickier. Like, I know I'll have people message me saying we want this and we want that, but if it doesn't really align with what I'm trying to do, then it doesn't serve the bigger picture. So I think just trying to stay true to the value and what your intentions were with the business or whatever it is you're doing, the podcast, whatever. And just knowing that you're going to have ups and downs, and it's not always going to be easy, and acknowledging that and accepting it, because it's, you can struggle and you think you're failure or whatever it is, but everybody goes through that at one point, and not giving up and keep going through it or whatever it is. That's what makes you successful. So, yeah.
Definitely. We can speak to that. Like, 2 years into this pod, and like we've learned so many lessons.
Yes. And we're still learning.
We're still learning. So I can really like resonate with that and appreciate that. And you just got to like keep going, and you learn from those mistakes, or I don't
100%.
even like to call them failures, because I feel like there's always like something positive that comes out of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, kudos to you. That's really
amazing.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through kind of like your creative process of how you come up with the designs to, like, you have an idea in your head to what actually the product is? Because I imagine there's a lot of operations that go in behind a jewelry business. It's not just like, I want to make this. It's like, okay, how do we actually make this happen?
Yeah. And that I think was a big struggle for me personally too, is like sourcing materials and the right cost, and like validating like, why am I going to charge this, and why do I think it's worth it for someone to spend the money on this? For me, in terms of designing, I find a lot of pieces that I like, and I just try to bring them to life and try to give like a simplistic yet timeless take on them, I think. Yeah. Because I like jewelry and I love a good trend, but I also want something that isn't just going to be like a fast fashion piece that will last for a long time. And I think sourcing materials is big in that, because there's a lot of different types of materials you can use, and whether they last forever, they don't, is a big factor in jewelry. But a part of what I do is I have a collection called Relove, and it's taking pieces that were previously owned, vintage or antique, and kind of bringing them back into life. So that's really important to me, and that's where a lot of my jewelry comes into play, because it's real gold, it lasts forever, but it has like a story and a meaning behind it, and that's kind of what I'm trying to focus on as well.
Wow.
Wow. So do you like do some of the designs by hand yourself too? Or do you kind of like look for inspiration like online, and you kind of send like, okay, this is the idea that I have here?
Yeah. Yes and no. So for some of them, I'll pick a chain I like, and then I'll just keep testing things out. I'll put a different pendant, I'll change the charms, I'll change the length, and I'll test it out on myself. I'll ask my partner and be like, what do you like? And he's like, everything. It's super helpful.
Like, not helpful.
Men are useless for that,
sweetie.
They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, everything looks so good."
Yeah.
You're like, give me an
Just kidding. He is very helpful.
but shout out.
Yeah, it's tricky. So I just kind of play around with things a lot. I don't always just go with what I initially had. I'll test different styles. But at the end of the day, I think whatever I find, like, I'm not going to get sick of after I wear often, or like of a week of wearing, if I actually really like it, then I just kind of go ahead with it. But a lot of what I do is I'll find like the pendants pre-made or whatever, and then I'll just cut the chain, finish them, that sort of thing.
Wow.
Okay, cool. Are there any like particular materials or like techniques that you enjoy working with the most? Like, do you have any favorites?
Yeah, solid gold and gold filled.
Ooh, yeah.
Gold just is timeless forever.
Yeah.
It really is.
I do permanent bracelets, and I only use solid gold.
We've been wanting
We've
to
been
get permanent
wanting
bracelets.
one.
We're gonna come.
That's where you like cinch it, right? It just
Yeah.
doesn't come
So
off.
all
Like,
of- all
we
of
need
mine
to do
are.
one.
Yeah. 5, I think, right now. But yeah, I only use solid gold because it's gonna last forever.
Oh my god, we need to go and do that.
Okay, this is a sign.
This is a sign.
Yeah.
We're coming. We're coming to your house.
Cool.
Or wherever.
Come on over.
Come on over.
Anytime. So that's my favorite. That's my preference, but it's harder too because it's a more expensive thing. So I don't want it to be not in everyone's budget. I want it to be affordable and accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
So my next option is gold filled, which is like the difference between plated and filled, I guess, is kind of, if you think of like an ice cream cone, plated would be if you like dipped it.
Okay.
Whereas filled is, it's like an actual thicker bond to the base metal. So it's a lot more durable, more waterproof, that sort of thing. So I try to shift everything to gold filled and then solid gold if I can. And then I do have some sterling silver and that sort of thing too, but I'm not much of a silver person. Golden girl, but
What? Silver girl.
Silver gold just doesn't sound the same.
Silver girl just doesn't. It doesn't have a ring to it. I want to know more about. You said you you took a course, or you did your university in search engine optimization. Is that what you said you did?
So I worked in search engine.
Can you talk about that a bit, and how do you bring any of that kind of stuff into your business? Because I imagine that's really
I feel
cool.
like not a lot of people even really know
what
about
that is. Yeah.
I'm like,
No, yeah. So for context, because most people are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Basically, like if I want to Google podcast, if your podcast shows up in the rankings organically, so not because of a paid ad or something like that, there's a lot of SEO behind that. So it's just how you optimize your website, how you use keywords, how you use certain like web dev particulars, I guess, to kind of make it work. So I'm not an SEO, and my guy friends that watch this will probably be like, Sam, come on. But we worked a lot in it. So it's kind of understanding Google, which is like the major search engine, what they want, what they don't want, what they're going to rank, what they're going to promote, and just building and optimizing websites based on that.
That's so cool, because I feel like you can bring that into your business and like how you're actually designing your website and stuff.
I try to, for sure. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you do any like advertisements like on Instagram? Like do you like have those like sponsored ads that come up, or how do you find you generate or like market your business?
I do. I don't find it the most impactful, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the most impactful for me is actually just because it's a more personalized brand, is getting to know people face to face or connecting through people that I've met. So like when I do pop-ups in the city, I'll gain a lot of followers from that, more so than I would from a paid ad, for example, or like working with an influencer or something like that. So I do kind of dabble in everything, but honestly, I think it's just those personal connections that really are the best for me and for my brand.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like organic connections are just, or even word of mouth of being like, for example, Lisa Goslin, like we both wear those, and then like, oh, what's that bracelet? And then you tell your friend, and then the friend tells a friend, and that, I feel like that creates way more like traction to your website than like a paid ad. Because when I see paid ads, I just keep scrolling. I'm like,
and I will, like, I'll boost it, and I'll see if there's something I want to promote or whatnot, and I'll do Google ads and kind of try to get my certain words out there, like permanent jewelry or whatever. But I would not say I do a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably helpful too. Like you're obviously like decked out in like your own stuff. So it's like, oh, like where'd you get this? Where'd you get that? It's like, oh, I actually made this. And it's like, wait, what? Like that's such a nice little humble flex.
It's really awkward to say, to be honest. Like I go to Starbucks and they're like, wow, I love your earrings. I'm like, thanks. And then my friend's like, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. Literally to talk about yourself, to be like, it's actually my design. Do you want it?
Yeah. Like, do
you want my business card that people don't use anymore?
Yeah. Literally that I have stacked in my wallet. But yeah, funny. So yes, I get a lot of like people talking about it through that way, or like friends of mine that are like trying to promote for me or that sort of thing, for sure.
Okay, we need to talk about burnout, because I feel like you're doing everything under the moon and like under the sun. And
I thought we were busy, but like
like
Golden Girl's busy girl.
We're like, what do you do? And she's like, like all these things that she does. So can you talk to us about how you have work-life balance, if you have work-life balance, or you're like, you're crazy, this is like the first 5 years of my business, I gotta hustle, like?
It's both, for sure. For me, a lot of it comes down to imposter syndrome, and thinking I'm not good enough, or that I can't do it, or I can't accomplish it. But I kind of try to get past that by realizing that regardless of what we're trying to do, we're human, and there's going to be a cap on what we're trying to do. So I try to get out of my head and the imposter syndrome that way. But yeah, I have a lot going on. I have 3 jobs. I volunteer full time too. So it is a lot. I have dogs, like rescue animals are needy as shit. So like that doesn't help.
Oh my gosh.
But for me, I just take it in strides. If I don't feel like I can do something that day, I won't. And when that imposter syndrome kicks in and I'm like, well, you know, Lisa Goslin is working 24/7 and she's got this sick brand, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, but like Golden Girl's trying to promote that we need to be human. We need to be healthy. We're trying to not set unrealistic expectations for ourselves. So I have to kind of reflect back on that.
Yeah.
But it is a lot, and burnout is 100% real. Yeah. For me, like my partner's pretty understanding the fact that like sometimes I just need to not talk and just vegetate, and like
amen. Yeah.
We do it. It's cool.
Yeah.
If I need to just binge Game of Thrones for a couple hours, like that's what's happening.
That's my jam.
Yeah. Do what you got to do.
100%. But yeah, I think just realizing, you know, you're human and not a machine is really important, because
that's good advice for everybody, honestly.
Yeah. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Oh, 100%. Even this week, I was just telling Tash, I'm like, sometimes you just have a shitty week and you have to just be like, you know what? Just keep pushing, or you have to just cancel things that you just can't do. And that's okay. And like everyone's human, and people have bad weeks or good weeks or whatever.
100%.
You know? So,
Yeah. I know it kind of seems like you don't like to talk like too much about yourself or about like your successes, the vibe that I'm getting, but I would love for you to share like maybe one of your proudest moments or a memorable success that you've had with Golden Girl. Like brag a little bit.
Yeah,
like
brag.
I feel like you got some good ones.
A recent one that was really fucking cool. I wrote an original poem and I performed it at an endometriosis symposium.
Wow.
Whoa.
And that's for me is like I'm like an artsy person, but like I'm shy. Like I'm an extroverted introvert. Like if I know my people, I'm good. But if I don't, I'm pretty shy. So doing that pushed me outside of my comfort zone 100%. But I'm if the only way you grow is doing something that makes you uncomfortable, then you have to do it.
Yeah.
So I did that. But I think what was really important for me is not just pushing my own boundaries there, but I actually had a couple ladies come up to me and just like sobbing afterwards.
Wow.
And just messaging me saying how much it resonated with them and what it meant to them to hear people go through it and know they're not alone in that sort of thing. So that was really important to me. But I've had, I think, a lot of those connections that I've built through Golden Girl and through the community are probably the most impactful, just because I've had friends that didn't know they had endo that have gotten diagnosed because of talking to me and understanding what they're going through, or just having like terrible, shitty mental health weeks or whatever it is, and just knowing like we can be strangers and go through it together, and that's okay. So those kind of connections I think are probably the most meaningful to me. Try to think of anything else. Like,
I mean, that's a freaking huge
yeah,
one.
you should be really proud of yourself. Honestly, that alone.
Like, I wrote a poem and performed it. I'm like, what can you not do? You're like, I
Math.
make jewelry.
You're like, I have an accountant.
Sorry, shout out to my accountant who I have not sent my tax information to yet. My bad, it's coming. No, math. Yeah, I'm terrible at math.
No, good for you. Like, it's really inspiring to see someone like be able to step out of their comfort zone and inspire other people in doing so. Like, I feel like a lot of people fall on that end where like you stay in your little bubble and you don't want to speak about this or about that because you're like, oh, like who can relate to me? Like, I don't know, like I feel alone in this. But then if you just speak on it, you would be so surprised at how many people are going through the same thing or can relate. And it just is helpful to know that you're not alone, no matter like what your specific situation is. Like, there's someone out there that can relate to you.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Share like human experience, and there's someone that can resonate with your story.
Yeah, exactly.
I think what we want to talk about is definitely endometriosis, and I know we've kind of briefly touched on it, but can you just start by explaining for those listening who are like, what is endometriosis? Like, what are you talking about? Can you just give us plain language summary of what it is?
Yes. So it's a really annoying and long word, so I call it endo for short. It's just a little bit easier to say. But endo essentially is a disease that happens in people who have female reproductive organs. And I just preface it that way because not everybody identifies as a woman but has female parts, right? So it's just important to acknowledge that. But it is a disease where tissue that is similar to that lines the uterus grows kind of rogue elsewhere in your body. So like when we get our periods, we have this endometrium and it's a lining that builds up and then we shed it. And that's what our period is, for simple terms. But with endo, you just have a similar tissue that's just kind of growing and it's adhesing to like other parts of your body. So for me, it was found in my diaphragm. I had it attaching my bowel and my uterus together and actually like pulling it out of place.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So people have it on their bladders, like all kinds of stuff. It's been found on the brain, literally every major organ on the body.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But people don't know, right? Because it's a women's health issue. So it's just it's underfunded and under-researched.
100%. So when did you get diagnosed? How old were you when you were diagnosed?
I think it was like 2016 maybe. Okay.
So in your early 20s.
And like I said, math is not my strong suit.
Early 20s. Yeah, like 21, 22 probably.
So early 20s.
Okay. And were you like, did you have pain or like for people listening, they're like, maybe I have this and I don't even know. Like, I feel like it's very underdiagnosed sometimes until it's kind of too late and you're like, oh, I need to do something about this.
100%. So for anyone, this is all like the only way I can explain it. If your period is causing you like nonsensical pain, that's not normal.
Yeah.
And if a doctor says, oh yeah, that's just your period, that's normal. No, it's not. It is 100% not normal. Your period should not be causing you that much pain.
Yeah.
So I had pretty heavy bleeding, like bad periods and stuff, I think since I was like 14, 15. So I've been I actually just went off it, but I had been on birth control since I was 14. So for 16 years, to try to like mitigate my cycle and like understand the pain and what was going on there. But I would have episodes of like blacking out on the toilet from the pain when I had my period. TMI and kind of gross. Sorry, anybody, but like
female, like 98% female listeners. It's all good. And if you're male, you should learn about that.
Yeah,
honestly,
listen up.
But yeah, like your blood clots the size of golf balls. like on my period, like shit like that. Yeah.
Wow. So you went to your doctor for this, obviously, and then I feel like they were not super like reciprocative at the beginning about it. They kind of brushed it off a bit, right?
So typical diagnosis time is around 7 years for most people with endo.
That's too long.
Yeah.
Can we not do that, please?
Yeah.
Can we make that a bit smaller?
So I consider myself very lucky and very fortunate because it did not take me that long. I told my doctor about what was going on, and this was kind of like in university. And when I graduated university, I saw a specialist pretty much right away. And that specialist ended up being my first surgeon. And we tried a couple different options, which we can talk about after. But I think I was lucky because it was only a few years probably of like when it really got bad to like this is unbearable in terms of timeline. But
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really understudied. Like I'm an epidemiologist in like obstetrics and gynecology, so I know all about endo, and it is a field of research that's really underfunded, under-researched. We don't know too much about it still, like even clinically. How would you say, because I've definitely heard that there are kind of different diets and things that you can take, or different medications that you can take to kind of combat the symptoms of endo. Is there something that's worked for you? And like, just preface by saying we are not doctors, so don't like speak to your doctor before you take any of our advice, but is there something that's worked for you in terms of diet or exercise or any of that kind of stuff?
For me, to be honest, and this is different for everyone. What works for me doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you if you have endo or something similar. No, not really.
Okay.
So there are a lot of foods that can increase like bloating and discomfort. So I did a paleo diet once upon a time and I felt amazing, but it didn't mean I didn't have pain.
Okay.
So there's kind of those sort of things along the line. But for me, the only thing that actually helped me with pain was having surgery. And I had to have 2, and it was after my second one that I started getting relief.
Okay, let's jump into that for a bit because you mentioned surgery before too, and I kind of want to know what surgeries were recommended to you, which ones did you have, and are these like common surgeries for endo? Yeah,
so for endometriosis, the only way to definitively diagnose it is via laparoscopic surgery.
Okay.
So you can do internal ultrasounds and that sort of thing, and you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on in there. But the only way to actually know is to go in laparoscopically. So they go in, they make a little tiny cut, incision, and they go in with their microscope and they have a look and see what's going on. So there's 2 ways that they do that. And it's either to get rid of endometriosis, it's ablation or excision. And one is burning away kind of like the surface level. And one is actually kind of cutting out the roots, digging it out.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So for me, for my first surgery, I had laparoscopic surgery, and that's where it was confirmed, yes, you have endometriosis. But the funny, not so funny, I'm grateful, I guess, for this, but the only reason I actually was told I could have surgery was because they found this ovarian cyst.
Oh my gosh. Is that common to happen with endo, to have cysts as well?
Yeah. Okay. So people will definitely get that. And most of the time with cysts too, they're not dermoid. So dermoid is like solid filled. Okay. So those they take out because it was starting to wrap around my ovaries. So it could have killed my ovary essentially.
Oh my goodness.
But a lot of the time with people, we get cysts that are just like sacks of liquid. It's like really weird and gross to think about, but and they'll just rupture on their own. So they don't like to go in and do surgery for it. So I had an ultrasound. They found my cyst. They're like, yeah, this is big. Like this needs to come out. And then while we're in there, we'll check and see if you have endo.
Okay.
So that was kind of,
God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That was how I got lucky.
Into that. Yeah.
Yes. Because otherwise I don't know that I would have had that surgery, or if I did, it would have been years because it is a really long wait time to have surgery.
I was going to say in
Canada, even back then it was,
like
it's so much worse now, but even back in.
Oh yeah.
However many
I can't
years
even imagine like with the pandemic,
shit.
it got worse too. So
those elective surgeries just like, bottom of the list.
Yeah. So for me, I had my first surgery, I think it was 2016. And he went in there, he took the cyst out, he confirmed I had endo, removed some of it. And then he found a piece that he felt was, he said it was kind of like a hard nodule. And it was essentially what was causing my, my bowel and my uterus to be stuck together was just like this really hard chunk of endo.
Okay.
For layman's terms. And he's like, I can't do that. I'm not a specialist for that. So you have to see a specialist.
You're like, great.
So then following year, I got my surgery, but that was no easy feat. I got brought onto a specialist's wait list, and it would have been anywhere up to a year or more for the surgery. But what I did was I called every single morning at 7 a.m. and I said, hey, do you have any cancellations for surgery?
Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah.
Every morning.
Wow.
For months. And then eventually she was like, yep, I do.
She's like, hi again.
Yeah.
Every morning. She's like,
Every
hi,
morning.
Summer.
Yeah. And at this time I worked at Good Life and I opened the gym. So it was like, okay, gym's open. Good morning. It's me. Do you have any openings? One day she did.
Like that day. So you had to like go?
No. So like it was somebody's
Right
spot
now.
that they couldn't go.
Okay.
Imagine like, here, let's go.
Right now.
Yeah.
You're ready.
So I got really lucky that way, and I had my second surgery, and that was laparoscopic as well. They measure in the US and in like Australia, they measure endo by stages a lot of the time. It's not as common in Canada, but it's kind of just the level of severity. So that was when they had it removing the part that was on my bowel and my uterus, remove that adhesion. And then they found it in my diaphragm, kind of all over my pelvic area and region as well. And then after that surgery and the recovery from that, I actually started to feel a lot better.
Okay, I was going to ask, what was the recovery like for that? Because it sounds pretty like taxing on your organs.
I mean, it's like small incisions, so it's not too bad, but I'm not gonna say it's great. Like that you're still being
surgery.
But still, like on the inside, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, so it's like a couple months of very light exercise, not moving. First week, I don't really remember anything, to be honest.
Yeah,
you're just kind of in and out of a haze. But it's a slower recovery for sure, and it totally depends on what they find too, and how they if they want to excise it, if they want to remove it completely, what they do. Because sometimes people have had to lose like certain organs. Because it's just so covered in endo, they can't save it, right? So, or ovaries or whatever it is.
Yeah, which is obviously so hard as a woman to have to like potentially remove that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Have you found there's also maybe, let's say like you have endometriosis and like for you, like maybe surgery, like it's just kind of not an option for whatever reason. Are there any like holistic approaches or more like herbal, like acupuncture, anything like that you found has been helpful or that you've heard is helpful?
Physiotherapy, specifically pelvic physiotherapy, is big.
Pelvic floor therapy.
Yeah.
Shout out. Yeah.
Yeah. So in my endo discovery, I had a few other issues too. And so physiotherapy was one of the things that everyone recommended.
Okay.
Pelvic floor physiotherapy specifically. But that was a big one. There are some holistic approaches. I can't really attest to any of them, to be honest. It wasn't something I dabbled in too much, because I was the lucky one that got into surgery.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to kind of go down that road. I just had my surgeons and this is what we did. But before that, I was actually put on a clinical trial.
Okay. I was just going to ask if you've participated in any research studies or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk about that.
Okay. So that's
fascinated
that's
by that.
So between my first and second surgery, the pain for me was unbearable. I would go to work every day and I'd be in excruciating pain. I would be taking way too many prescription painkillers. Like I know it was way over the limit of what I was supposed to take, like several thousand milligrams of prescription painkillers.
And you're like in your early 20s.
Yeah.
Like that is so scary. Like
yeah.
you're just a girl. Like you're just a girl.
100%.
Oh my God.
And it was just because like I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at this point when I'd had my surgery, this was like 2015 or before my surgery, I should say, 2015, 2016, nobody I knew what endo was. It wasn't talked about at all.
It wasn't. Yeah. Not like today.
No, I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that I could be like, oh, this is what I'm going through. But basically what happened was I was in such excruciating pain every day that I was like falling over. I was blacking out. I was under my desk, curled up. I couldn't work. Like it was becoming extremely debilitating.
Yeah.
So I had a specialist at the Shirley Greenberg Women's Health Center. Awesome. Yeah. Recommend them if you can get in.
Shout out.
And they put me on a clinical trial where I had to kind of, it was an interesting time because I had just started dating my partner and I had to go off my birth control, which I hadn't been off in a long time. And that was the one thing I knew was kind of mitigating my pain because I would just take it continuously to avoid my periods so that I didn't have to go through that pain.
Okay.
And they were like, okay, so we're going to do this clinical trial with you where no birth control. And I'm like,
Great.
okay, it's awkward. So what do we do now?
What are the options?
Yeah. And then they gave me this little e-diary. And this was the bane of my existence, this little thing, because it would go off. You'd have to enter it into it every night. It would have an alarm that would just go off and off and off. And you had to enter it in the same thing every day. You'd go through all these questions. Didn't matter where you were. I remember like being at my cottage, going on vacation. I had to take this thing with me everywhere. Go through all of this for months. And it would just ask questions. How's your pain level today? What did you do? Like this sort of thing. So after a few months of doing this, you know, like changing up my lifestyle, going through horrible bleeding and horrible pain because I had to go off the one thing I had at the time that was kind of controlling it slightly. We came back and I met with the lady who was doing my research study, and she said, so we're going to have to stop this. The rats that we're testing it on got cervical cancer.
What was the intervention that they were giving you? Like, what was the medication?
It was basically, I hadn't gotten to the point where they administered yet, but they were going to start me on a placebo. And well, you don't know. You either get a placebo or you don't.
Yeah.
But when I was about to start it, they're like, no, we have to stop because the rat's got cervical cancer.
Holy shit.
So for me, that was like mentally a really difficult point because I had just given up everything I had to try to let this work. And then be told, no, the animals we were testing this on got cancer, so we can't.
They probably shouldn't do this with you.
Clinical trial.
Yeah,
that's crazy. It's crazy to me because usually, like, you have to go through so much rigorous, like, animal testing before something even is approved.
It's almost like it was they were mid doing it.
Yeah,
they probably like later on figured out that there was like some longer term like effects and stuff. That's crazy. So it's really interesting to me because I feel like you'd be a really good patient advocate for like research studies because we always look for people who've like gone through the experience to talk about when we plan these types of trials to be like, you know what, this is my experience. I would have liked to know maybe more information or whatever. Is there any type of like misconceptions that when you first found out you had endometriosis, like you just like obviously are thinking a million things and you're Googling things and you're trying to understand about the disease.
Yes.
And so is there anything that like there are common misconceptions about endo that you're like, oh, people need to know this? Like
100%.
Yeah.
Biggest one is that there is no cure.
Okay.
So there is no cure found. They've had things that they found that have helped with endometriosis, but they have not found a cure.
Okay.
So a lot of doctors, and it sucks and it's heartbreaking because a lot of people have suggested that the only way to stop endo is to either get pregnant or have a hysterectomy.
Polar opposites? Okay.
Yeah. So basically,
so you're 20 years old as this is all happening. It's like, hey, do you want to have a baby or do you want me to completely get rid of all of your organs to enable you to do
with
so?
With your new partner. You're like, hi, I just went off my birth control.
Yeah. And I remember my first surgeon, he had told me this. He said, like, this is what you can do. You can either get pregnant, seems to help people, or, well, do a hysterectomy. But he's like, you're what, like 21? You probably maybe want to have kids, eh? And he just joked about it. And at the time, I was so offended because I was like, that's not something you joke about. And also, you're just going to say that, you know? Like, it was...
So you're a man and you don't know what the hell I'm going through.
And you're going to just say, this is what you have to do with your life now. Yeah, so that was really frustrating for me. And that is a huge misconception. And I know a lot of women that have had hysterectomies because they thought that was the only way that they could cure endo. And it isn't a cure, right? Because endometriosis can grow outside of the uterus.
Oh, okay. So you can do this and then you're still going to be
you can, unless you magically get rid of it all first and something and it can't keep producing. But yeah. So those are the two biggest misconceptions. Another one I would have to say is that I think people don't understand the effect it has, not just on you, but on other people. So for me, I developed vulvodynia as well. I had a bilateral uterus, just like other complications because of what I was going through, which meant sex for me was extremely painful.
I was going to say
enter pelvic floor therapy.
Yeah. Oh so gosh. I've used like lidocaine, which is a numbing cream, and it's really fun
when that painful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And you want to be like, okay, so let's plan our sexy time, and because I have to fucking
get ready.
Yeah. So it takes all the spontaneity out of it. It's like, it really affects a lot of different things that people don't necessarily think about when they think about endometriosis. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, I'm grateful. I I still have a great partner who was very kind and understanding and patient about that sort of thing. And that wasn't the be all end all for us, but for a lot of relationships it is. I've talked to a lot of women who have said their partners, like, they weren't okay with that. So, yeah. Wow. So that's a big one. And that it also just affects your mental well-being. I think it doesn't matter what disease you have, what struggle you're going through, to say it's just a physical disease is it's not. It's going to affect everything you're doing. You can't go to work. Sometimes you feel like you're being gaslit by your boss and doctors and that sort of thing. People just don't understand what you're going through, or they say it's just a period.
It's hard too, because let's say like you're experience this. It's like, how do you tell that to like your boss? Like, how do you
especially
express
a male
that?
boss? And another thing too is I find with like different conditions where you can't see it, like it's internalized pain. Like for example, Lyme disease is another one where
invisible illness.
It's an invisible illness where people are like, you're fine, you look fine.
Yeah.
Why can't you come to work?
Exactly.
And you're like, I'm in pain, but I can't express that to you because I don't have a bruise or I like my leg isn't broken. Like it's hard to express that you're in pain. So I can understand like you're also just like trying to portray like you guys don't understand how much pain I'm in. And especially males are just like, they will never understand because they've never gone through a period or
Nope, not once.
hormonal changes or things like that.
That's so difficult.
What about fertility? Because I know like some people too probably have the misconception that like, oh, you have endo, you probably can't get pregnant, which I think is a huge misconception.
It is 100%. Endometriosis can absolutely impact your fertility. I know a lot of people that haven't been able to conceive because of it, or scar tissue issues from surgery or that sort of thing. It's not necessarily endo specifically, but I also know a ton of people that have been able to have kids and have been able to get pregnant. So it totally depends on your situation. For me, I was told by a doctor because it got caught pretty young that I should have good chances if I choose to have kids. But there's also other complications. Like I mentioned, the bilateral uterus that causes miscarriages a lot of the time. So there's other things at play, right? And it's totally dependent on the person, if they've had surgeries, the scar tissue in their body, the level of endometriosis, where it was, did they lose ovaries, that kind of thing. Because there's a lot that goes into play there, right?
Very layered.
But yes, that is a common misconception.
100%.
Can you talk a little bit about your volunteer experience? Are you volunteering with an endometriosis charity, or can you just speak to that a little bit to let people know?
Absolutely. So when I started Golden Girl, I was donating $5 from every sale to the Endometriosis Network of Canada. And last year, myself and a friend of mine, who's another endo advocate, we co-chaired the first ever endometriosis run to end endo is what it's called in Ottawa.
Wow.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was really exciting. I mean, there weren't a lot of us, but there was like 30 of us.
That's how it starts though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was super, super cool to see. All these people came out. We talked about it. I shared my story. I had people come up to me and share their story, and we just raised funds and awareness for endometriosis.
Wow.
So this year I am the run director myself. And that's actually happening on June 1st if this gets aired before then.
Oh, it will. So we'll put all these details below
Okay.
in like the description.
Yeah, so it's happening June 1st, and it is walkable, it is runnable, like you do not have to commit. It's 5K, but it's just like a 1 kilometer loop around Andrew Hayden Park, so it's really beautiful.
Wow.
But it's just a really great way to kind of get to know people. There's going to be patient speakers, there's going to be political speakers, medical speakers, and everything. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the disease, it'll be a really great day to do that.
Cool.
That's huge.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, good for you. And this is, how many years has this been going on now that you've
This
done
will be the second year.
Wow. I feel like it's grown so much in already just a year.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I need to tell my coworkers about that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so good.
That is really cool. Should we maybe jump into a little game?
Yeah.
Would you like to play a game with us?
Yeah.
So end on like a little fun note. It's
For sure.
called Love It or Leave It. So
Okay.
we're gonna name off some different like jewelry, like trends, or just like different things kind of surrounding that, because it's like your bread and butter, and you tell us whether you love it or you leave it.
Okay.
Okay, and you can say why, or if you're
Yeah,
just
you can
like,
explain why.
whatever.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Let's do it.
All right, let's start off with a couple little trends, like mixed metals, so gold and silver. Mixing it. Do we love it?
Love
or
it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
I like my watch.
yeah.
I love your watch. I was just
Thank
looking at
you.
it too. It's stunning.
And my fidget ring here is both.
I love that you do fidget rings,
Yeah.
by the way.
Thank
That
you.
is sick.
get
I need
one.
one of those because
Yeah.
I'm always touching mine and
Yeah.
it doesn't move. And I'm like,
Or
I
like
need
for
a little
nail
fidget
biters, I
ring.
feel like that's
Exactly.
like the best thing
It
to
is.
get.
Yeah. So
Super
I'm
cool.
going to say yes.
Okay, amazing.
Okay, what about like chunky chains? Like big chunky chains. I feel like you're more of a dainty girl.
I'm definitely a dainty girl, but I do love them, to be honest. I think it's like a time and place. It has to go with the outfit. You probably want to do like one if you have some daintier pieces, if you're kind of going stack wise, or just like one big chunky chain. But I'm for it. I
Okay.
don't love just constantly dainty all the time.
Okay.
I like a mix.
I like that.
What about mismatched earrings?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at my ears.
Yeah. I think
feel like
that's
it's just
so
gonna be
fun.
love it, love it, love
Yeah.
it, love it. Love it.
You're giving me so much inspo now too. Like I used to have so many different piercings and I took them all out and I'm like, I need to just deck my ears out again.
Yeah.
It's
I have way
fun.
too many, so they kind of do their own thing.
Does it bother you when you sleep though?
No.
No.
Not at
Are
all.
you a back sleeper or a side sleeper though?
Oh, I just move every which way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Were you saying you were trying to get that pierced? Like you were trying to get another piercing?
I want to get another one for sure, but I used to have like my industrial, I had
Mm-hmm.
my rook, my tragus, but I also just found them really annoying when I slept because I'm a side sleeper always. Like I'd have imprints on my ear from them.
Initially, yes, because you're like in so much fucking pain from just being poked.
Yeah.
But no, I don't find mine bother me
You're
really.
just used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about like men wearing pearls? We've talked about this before.
Ooh. So I've actually had a guy buy pearls for me at one of my pop-ups.
Okay.
Whoa.
And the way I looked at it was, dude, if you are confident enough to rock pearls, fucking go for it.
Yeah.
That's what we said. We're like, you know what?
Guys
It's
that
kind of
rock
hot.
pearls that truly rock them, it's hot.
Yeah.
100%. Because like the guys that are doing it have really nice style and they're confident.
That's what I mean.
And
It's
as
not
long
like
as you're
the-
confident,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I actually really like when guys wear jewelry.
Yeah, you gotta get
Me
Farzad
too.
some pearls. Does he
Yeah.
have some?
He has like a chain, but no pearls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta get
What
him some.
about the Cartier Love bracelet? How do we feel about it?
So I have 3 Cartier love rings in my Relove collection right now. If anybody's looking for one.
Oh, Mother's
Like
Day's coming up.
So I prefer the rings.
I love the rings actually.
I bought a dupe on Amazon.
Bracelet, I'm not as big on. But I've never been a huge bangle person.
Yeah.
I like them and I think they can look really cool if you have a bunch of them, but I'm not a huge Cartier bangle person. But the ring I love, especially if you stack it.
I
Okay.
love the style.
Yeah.
I love your black ring too. So I feel like
Thank
it kinda
you.
looks like my black ring. Love it. Okay, what about, and I feel like you're gonna say yes to all of these. Okay, what about like plastic jewelry?
Ooh, okay. I've dabbled with it.
Okay.
I like it, but it's not an everyday thing for me.
Okay.
I will get tired of it, and I don't find it's just something that I'll always want to put on. I find it's more of a summer piece, like festival vibe,
Yeah.
fun.
Festival. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like
So that
rocking
sort
it
of
every
thing,
day.
yes. But for me, no, not every day.
Okay. What about toe rings?
Ooh.
Toe ring girly? Is that a new collection coming out?
So I just
You're like, I just started a toe ring collection.
no, but I did just go to Mexico and I have a toe ring and I put it on and I was like, maybe. And then I was just looking at my feet and I was like, I'm not a huge foot person. So I kind of just opted out of it.
You're like, not for me.
Not for me.
What about like ankle bracelets? I feel like some
That's
people
cute.
have
I
those too.
think those are
Yeah.
cute.
And I do permanent ankle
I was gonna
bracelets.
say,
That's pretty
like,
popular.
Maybe a permanent one.
Yeah. I ankle bracelets I'm down with. Feet, it's just like,
Yeah. I hate my toes, so I could never. I don't want to draw any attention to my.
well, that's it. You have to have a nice pedicure. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me to feel comfortable with it, I want a
Yeah.
good pedicure. And it's
You
just,
can have like the perfect toe.
I'm also
Like,
worried they're just going to fall off.
They're gonna fall off, and I'm like, I'm gonna put on my socks. Like when then
You
I
don't
gotta
see
take
them.
it off.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's the whole
Yeah.
thing.
So I'm going to say leave it.
Yeah. Leave it. Okay. Like that. Okay. What about grills?
So it's funny you asked that because I actually just sent this thing. The girl who does my nails has a girl like subcontracting for her and she does little gemstones.
Ooh.
And I saw it and to be honest, I thought that was kind of like, no. And I saw it and I was like, I actually kind of fucking love this. It looked really good.
How does that stay on your tooth?
No
It's
idea.
They put like some kind of permanent
Like
glue.
a really glue.
I have no
right?
idea.
Okay.
Um,
Like a little diamond.
yeah, they're like little, yeah.
I feel like I
Yeah.
would bite into a burger and it would just be like, where did it go? And I'm like choking on it.
On a daily basis, no.
Yeah.
If you're Zoe Kravitz and can wear whatever the fuck you want and look
Yeah.
amazing doing it,
Truly.
go get grills, girl. Shave your head, do whatever the fuck you want. You know. But for me personally, nah.
Yeah.
Not for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about birthstone jewelry?
I like it. I think it's a little overdone.
Yeah. I will say it's kind of overdone.
I have some. I have my sister. I welded my sister and my mom's birthstones onto one of my bracelets.
That's
Cute.
sentimental and cute. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for that, it's okay. But that's one piece of my like 100 pieces
Yeah.
that I wear.
I think it depends on the birthstone too. Like I'm August, so I'm peridot, which is like to me it's just light green
It's
color.
green.
I don't love it.
Yeah.
But like opal, I really like opal.
I love
I just
opal.
bought an opal ring one day because I was like, I just like opal.
Yeah, I like it. I just feel like every jewelry brand does it, and that's not something I try to do. I try to just do something a little bit different.
100%.
So I'm in between on that one.
Okay.
For
Middle
sentimental
ground.
reasons, yes. As an everyday thing,
Yeah.
meh.
Yeah, fair.
Okay, what about Van Cleefs? Because I feel like everyone was having those. Like they were popping off. And now I feel like you can't even tell. Like, is it an Amazon one? Real
Yeah.
one? Which is fine. I love a good dupe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say leave it.
Yeah.
I like designer stuff. Don't get me wrong. But I also don't believe in doing or following a trend just because everybody else is doing it.
Yeah.
That's
You
not
don't
me.
actually like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
If
agree.
you love the piece because you think it's super cool and it resonates with you or whatever, sure.
Yeah.
But don't get it just because you were like, oh, they have it, so I have to get it.
'Cause everyone on Love Island is rocking it.
Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the men too. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
What about chokers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But when I wear a choker, I layer them
Yeah.
usually. So I will have I have a pearl necklace on that's like a choker length, but I have a bunch of other necklaces with it too.
Yeah, you have a great stack.
So I
going
kind of
on.
make it a
I
thing.
find it hard sometimes to find like cute things that stack really well, but you're like,
Yeah.
really-
I don't know if it's my neck. Sometimes I'll put stuff on. I'm like, why does this look good on other people? And then on me, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like a 1-2 necklace max kind of girly for
Yeah.
some reason.
Back to the festival thing, chokers for festivals I love.
Ooh, chokers
Yes.
for festivals. Yeah.
Chokers are big, like back in like 2012, 2013. I remember I used to have
Yes.
so many, like the black, just like plain choker,
Yeah. Yeah,
like
yeah.
a little like something dangling on
Yes.
it. Like, oh my
Yep.
gosh, those pictures exist somewhere on my Facebook albums.
Okay, what about those like little things that you can put on sunglasses and they're like little chains?
beaded chains?
No.
Practical.
You're like,
Again, I think that's one of those things that's like just a trend.
yeah.
For practicality, yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're like at your cottage and you're on a boat or something, you're swimming, sure. It's a cute way to do it.
Yeah.
For sure. But I never did it. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard for your partner probably to like buy you jewelry because you're like the jewelry queen. You'd probably like, what do I buy her?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no need.
No need.
He doesn't buy me.
Like I got that part.
He's like, I got it.
Yeah.
What about Pandora and like Pandora bracelets?
Oh yeah, remember those like charm bracelets? That
Yes,
everyone
they
had at
would
one
pinch
point?
all my arm hair. Like all my arm hair would come off because of my Pandora
Yeah.
bracelet in like grade 7.
Not my style at all.
Yeah.
If you get those because like you can get little charms that mean something to you, I think that's awesome. And I think
cute.
it's super, super cute.
Yeah.
And it's like a nice gift idea to add to it too. Charm bracelets in general, I think are cute, but Pandora's never really been my style.
Does it still exist?
Yeah, it definitely
Yeah?
does.
Oh, yeah.
People are still
Who's still
buying from
buying
it.
Pandora?
I don't know. People buy their rings. What kind of like what brands would you say you most resonate with, or that you kind of look up to, and you're like, I love their style, I love their aesthetic.
Ooh.
Like, is there anyone particular that is like?
Yeah. Canadian Leah Alexandra.
Okay.
She's Vancouver based. I love her stuff. It's like a lot of what I did. It was from inspo from her too.
Okay.
She does permanent bracelets, and I noticed like I had one charm and she got that charm too, and I was like, hey, so we're aligned.
Oh.
You know, not that she saw me because she's like really big and I'm nobody, but you know what I mean? Like it's just like it's kind of we have the same vibe.
Yeah.
I like a minimalist, timeless, beachy kind of style.
I love that.
And she has that a lot, so I love her stuff.
Oh, I love that.
But I do love the Lisa Gosselin smiley face, and I was actually
Yeah.
looking at that one yesterday.
Yeah.
With the black
I
eyes.
love those smileys.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy.
Yeah.
What about belly rings? How do we feel about those?
Oh yeah, belly rings. You can say leave it. You haven't said leave it for anyone. You're like, I love everything.
I'm gonna say leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a 14-year-old girl and you want to rock it,
That was me. Not anymore. Now I regret it because I feel like if like when I have a baby, I'm gonna have this like scar on my navel, which is unfortunate.
It's okay.
I went through all that for nothing.
but you do you. You do you. If you like it, yeah. But for me, no.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been so fun.
So fun. So
I've
fun.
been having a really great time. We just want to thank you so much for coming on the pod. We're talking about your business, your story. You've inspired us, and I know you're going to inspire so many others just
So
from
many.
coming on and from everything that you do. So
Thank you.
so
And we'll
much,
leave
Summar.
like all of the stuff that we talked about in the description and your Instagram and everything. And definitely go check out her website because she has way more
Yes.
stuff. And go buy
do a
some
little
of her
plug
stuff.
now. Like tell us,
Yeah,
where
tell us where people can find you.
Yeah, so it's Golden Girl, gldn, grl, so just no vowels, .ca or .com. It'll take you to both. Doesn't matter. On Insta.
Search engine obsessed.
I redirected it. Yes, I own both domains.
Yeah.
Fucking nerd.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, I did do that though. On Insta, I'm at HEY GLDN GRL because the girl who has the Golden Girl wouldn't give it to me.
Dude, that's the worst. You're like,
I know.
please, you don't even use your Instagram.
That
I
happened to
know.
our friend Reagan too. Yeah,
Dude.
so brutal.
It sucked.
Okay,
It sucks.
amazing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you
Alright.
so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
Appreciate it.
Of course. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.